Okay, I know I've already mentioned this, but ever since I moved to France, the idea of buying myself a car just died. I didn't need one with all of this public transport around, and walking was just a nice way to get around. There is seriously no need for me to spend $1 bajillion getting one. That doesn't change the fact that I will jump on the opportunity to hop in Hugo's car and drive wherever the heck we want to go. That's free transportation, guys. I mean, come on. But for some strange reason that I definitely am not understanding the more that I think about it, I completely forgot about this thing that existed called bad drivers. We got plenty of those in the city, all over America in fact. I can attest to that, and so can my friends back home. But it's not exclusive to America, and I seem to have forgotten that pretty quickly for some strange reason. Okay, so Hugo and I haven't really been dating for a super long time, but he was visiting his parents on the more rural side of France, and he invited me to come along. Was I freaking out? Of course! Were they actually gonna like me? Guys, I'm still an American living outside of America, and I'm not sure how many of you are aware of this, but the rest of the world isn't exactly our biggest fan. I decided to internalize all of my stress, however, because something I've realized as Hugo and I have dated is the fact that he doesn't exactly handle stress well. I don't want him worrying about me and my stress and stressing him out, but he reads me super well and just kept trying to assure me that everything was going to be fine. He kept saying his parents were really going to like me, and I just hoped that was true. But anyway, we're on the road for maybe 40 minutes. Nothing out of the ordinary was happening. I had music playing in the car. Hugo was focused on the road. The car was silent for the most part, but honestly, I didn't have much of a problem with it. Then, as we're driving, I noticed Hugo starts to look in his rearview mirror a lot. I asked him what was going on, because no one looks at their rearview mirror that much when they're just driving straight. It was weird. I thought he might just try and assure me it was nothing, but instead, he told me that there were people coming up really fast behind us. Keep in mind, we're going 60, so I don't know why someone would want to be speed demoning through the road. There was barely anyone on it. I told Hugo just to keep an eye on them. It was really weird. I took to looking at the back window to see if they were about to do anything dumb. And they did two things in that moment. They first got super duper close to the butt of our car, and then they switched into the other lane. That was scary, speaking since it was the lane for cars going the opposite direction. I just tried to ignore it, but I think Hugo could feel how tense I was. We were both checking his window now, because these speed demons seemed so desperate to cross over in front of us. There weren't any cars coming, so I wasn't worried about them doing it safely. But then, all of my expectations of what should have happened totally shattered when I realized they were moving in way too close to us. I yelled at Hugo to slow down so the guy in the car didn't hit us, but it was too late. The guy hit the front of our car with the back of his, and both of us went swerving. I just grabbed into whatever I could so I didn't go flying, and I was screaming like a banshee. The car stopped sliding after a second, and when I looked at Hugo, he seemed fine. He was definitely shaken, but he was in one piece. As for the guy in the other car, well, I was ready to have a few words with him. I unbuckled fast and got ready to storm up to his car. But then, I heard the sound of an engine revving, and I felt my whole body tense in shock. He was trying to drive away from the scene. Oh no, he didn't. I started running towards the car, and I was shouting at them at the top of my lungs in French. Then, he rolled down the window and proceeded to say he only knew English. I stood there totally shocked. It was long enough for him to start trying to turn around and leave the scene, but I wasn't about to let that happen. I've never been one to be quick about taking my phone out, but I whipped that thing out faster than a cowboy in an old western standoff and took pictures of his license plate as he drove off. I somehow even managed to do it super fast too, with 2 zoomed in and another 4 that were just pictures of his car. Hugo at this point was out of the car and running after me to see if I was okay. I looked between him, and then I turned to face the car. It was beat up. Okay, it wasn't totaled or anything, but that bump was a nasty one. I handed him my phone so he could send all of those pictures to himself. If there's one thing I can pride myself in, it's knowing what to do in this kind of situation. My parents made it super clear to me when I was young that they weren't letting me get my license unless I was put through driver's ed first. So that's what I did, and I'm glad they covered this in that time. I gave Hugo the rundown of what to do. Call the police, call insurance, let them handle it, we have pictures. He stared at me a bit awestruck, which was kind of funny because it wasn't like I was doing anything remarkable. But he noticed that I seemed to be really good in this kind of situation. And of course that made me blush like a schoolgirl, but he did everything. We ended up calling multiple people. His parents for one, to let them know we were going to be needed to be picked up. The tow truck for his car, the police, and insurance. It was a hectic day for sure, and while I'm still kind of pissed about the whole thing, I can say it was a bit disheartening knowing that the English speaker was actually American. I could hear the accent clear as day. Man, it's one thing to be a bad driver in America, but really, I had to deal with them an entire continent away.